Welcome to another edition of the Electoral Roadshow with me, Chris Steyn, and elections analyst Wayne Sussman. Welcome, Wayne.
Good morning, Chris. Great to be speaking with you again.
There were two by-elections last night. Let us start with Oudtshoorn.
Thank you. So yes, both by-elections were in the Western Cape last night. When we actually look at the whole range of by-elections coming up, the majority are in the Western Cape, and that's obviously not reflective of the country. It's not the most populous part of the country. But yeah, let's start in Oudtshoorn. And this is in the Bridgeton area of Oudtshoorn. For those who are watching South Africa play cricket recently, there was a bowler called Othniel Bartman. Well, he is from this particular ward, this particular area called Bridgeton. And the ANC won this very narrowly in 2021. There were three parties within 2 percentage points of each other. They won it with only 22% of the vote. So always was going to be a difficult task for the ANC. But the other very important thing to understand about Oudtshoorn politics in 2021 was that there are only 25 seats in the council and 9 seats won elections. So what I'm trying by that, I think we can see that this is in 2021, politics was very fragmented in this part of the Western Cape. I want to repeat that 25 seats and 9 parties won seats onto the council. So when we look at the 2024 results in this on the ballot here, it was the Patriotic Alliance, which was the most popular party with about 40% of the vote. The DA second on about 30%, and the ANC in the 20s. So even though it's an ANC ward, the ANC didn't do well here in 2024. So another key thing in this by-election was that the Democratic Alliance, which came second here in 2021, which came second here when we consider the 2024 results, did not contest. And there was a lot of votes on the table. And as I said earlier about those 9 parties, that played out in this ward where the party which came fourth got 6% of the vote, but then you had a whole host of parties getting 3%, 4%, 5%. So there was a lot on the table here. And the 3 main parties on the ballot were the ANC, who held the ward, the PA, and then ICOSA, which is a regional party. And the Patriotic Alliance wins this ward. They won it with 44% of the vote, up from 12%. Now, that's a stunning rise. And this is the PA's second consecutive ward pickup over the ANC in 2 weeks. The last time we spoke, they won a ward off the ANC in the Beyers-Naudé area of the Sarah Baartman district. That's the Graafrenet area in the Eastern Cape. And yesterday, they won this ward. So the PA are continuing to hurt the ANC. What's interesting is, even though the ANC lost the seat, because the ballot sheet was much shorter, they actually also grew in this by-election. They grew from 22% to 34%, because, again, only 5 parties in the ballot. And then ICOSA coming in third with 21% up slightly. So how did the PA do it? In 2021, there's an area called the Bridgeton Secondary School, which is a DA area. And the DA were not on the ballot. And if we look at the turnout here, the turnout was very low here. But the PA won 75% of the vote. And they actually swept the other 2 voting districts, including winning the ANC stronghold. And this is another great result for the PA. Chris, it says that, again, I said that they just won another by-election the week before, but they've now won 2 seats between 2021 and today in Oudtshoorn off the ANC. And the party's momentum in the Garden Route and across the Western Cape continues, and they will be absolutely delighted with that result. Just one other point, and again, it's important. You had many parties feasting on the Ward 5 electoral pie in 2021. There were only 3 serious parties in the ballot here. the ANC will obviously be disappointed, but so too will the ICOSA party, because there were so few parties. I can explain why the ANC grew, but the ICOSA hardly grew. They grew by 1%. And what this suggests is that small parties are continuing to shift over to the Patriotic Alliance, and that a party like ICOSA weren't able to grow their base. They would be greatly concerned. Of course, the ANC would be greatly concerned, and the PA march on from Oudtshoorn to other parts of the Western Cape.
Okay, let's go to Cape Town.
Great. We're going to go to Dunoon, which is Ward 104, very close to the Killarney racetrack, near the Killarney Gardens area, a very impoverished part of the city of Cape Town. In 2021, the ANC won just under 65% here, which is basically 2/3 majority. So it's a very safe ANC seat. Last night in the by-election, in the by-election which just took place, the ANC won 47% of the vote. That's a stunning drop of 18 percentage points. It means that in this stronghold, the ANC fall below the 50% mark. That is a very worrying number for the second largest party in the city of Cape Town. So who gained at their expense? The economic freedom fighters went up from 19% to 29%. When we spoke last week, essentially across the board, the EFF had a very poor night. But here we are in a metropolitan area in the city of Cape Town, which is the second most populous metropolitan area in the country. And the EFF is getting close to 30% of the vote. They will be delighted with this number, and they will believe that in other townships in the city of Cape Town, that they can make serious inroads. A very important result for Julius Malema. The result was equally important for the Democratic Alliance, which doubled its percentage support from 8% to 16%. That is significant growth. We expect the DA to come under pressure from the Patriotic Alliance on the Cape Flats. But if the DA is able to replicate results and get over not just 10%, 16% of the vote across the board in townships like Dunoon, that is a very good indicator for them to retain their outright majority. Another party I want to make a mention of is the South African Communist Party. Last week, we spoke about a by-election in the Alfred Nzo district in Imbazana, in the Winnie Mandela municipality, where they did well, where they came second. They didn't do so well here, but you and I have spoken many times where they're getting 1% of the vote. They got 4% of the vote. And now that's not a good result. But if you're getting 4% in many township wards in the city of Cape Town, you're going to have some representation on the city council. So essentially, what we saw towards the end of last year and the beginning of this year in township areas in Gauteng, the ANC losing votes in its strongholds in all directions, that played out here in this Dunoon by-election yesterday. This is concerning the ANC. If I have to take a step back, yes, the ANC lost a seat in Oudtshoorn, but they essentially largely held on to their support and were able to basically grow because it was a smaller ballot sheet. The result yesterday in Dunoon is the one they'd be really worried about, and it's clear from Ekurhuleni, Johannesburg, Tshwane, to the West Rand area, to the Sedibeng area, now to the city of Cape Town, of course, eThekwini. The ANC has a big challenge in township areas, and this is something we need to watch going forward.
Okay, so we have a 3-week break until the next by-election, Wayne.
That's correct. And this was a difficult night for the ANC, but in 3 weeks, Chris, we might have to wait 4 weeks to speak again because there's only one by-election, and that is in Sakisizwe in the Chris Hani district. Now, who comes from there? The national chairperson of the ANC, Gwedi Mantashe. I think they won about 80% of the vote here last time, a super safe ANC seat. And this might be in a rural area, this might be an ANC stronghold, but for the ANC, they want to use this by-election to assert their narrative that in places like the Eastern Cape, it's a different story than what we saw last night, and that their support is resolutely strong. The ANC will hope to get about 80% of the vote, if not more, when we gather again in 3 weeks' time. If I just look at the map ahead, and I'm happy to also review the first 3 months of the year, this year is going so fast. We have now, including that Sakasizwe by-election, 10 by-elections coming up. Still a lot of them are in the Western Cape. And as I said in the beginning, the majority of South African citizens are not in the Western Cape. It points to the contestation in that province. We're going to see by-elections where the DA will be under pressure in Stellenbosch. George will be under pressure. The ANC will be under pressure in a place like Uniondale in George. The DA will have some safe seats in the Saldanha by area. We're also going to see one very important by-election in an ANC stronghold in Everton in Mfuleni. Now, I've said this before, Mfuleni is the largest or the most populous non-metropolitan municipality. That's the only Gauteng by-election coming up, and we're going to be watching that closely. And we also have some by-elections in the Northern Cape, some very close seats, and the Northwest Province. Now, the seats in the Northwest Province are safe ANC seats, but we're going to be looking at the EFF and Action SA where they can make inroads there. Nothing in KwaZulu-Natal, which is the second most populous municipality coming up. Maybe there will be after the next 10 by-elections. Nothing in Mpumalanga, nothing in the Free State, and nothing in the Limpopo province. So that's what's coming up, and it's going to be an interesting few weeks.
And how has the political or the party political landscape changed over 3 months of by-elections?
Yeah, so we, of course, are waiting for that big date. I'm hoping that Minister Glabisa from the Minister of Corporate Governance proclaims it so I can plan my year properly. But we know that there's a registration date coming up in June. The building blocks for the election are being put in motion. So if we review the first 3 months of the year, again, that theme of the ANC struggling in Gauteng townships, this is something they have to turn around. And this, I think, would be the thing which worries them the most. The other key theme is the IFP in KwaZulu-Natal. And yes, these are rural areas where not many voters are. But the IFP, these are the by-elections taking place, and they're showing up. It's what's in front of them, and they're doing very, very well. So this is a key thing, is how well is the IFP going to do in KwaZulu-Natal? We've noticed that Umkhonto weSizwe have not been able to replicate their showing from 2024. There was a theme we saw in 2025, but they're still on track to do well and hurt the ANC in KwaZulu-Natal. We've seen the ANC and certainly the EFF continue to struggle in KwaZulu-Natal. So we're seeing the IFP and to a lesser extent, the MK, the major factors there. And then the Patriotic Alliance, from the Northern Cape to the Western Cape Platteland, beyond the city of Cape Town, to that Sarah Baartman district in the Eastern Cape. They've picked up many wards in 2026. They have a lot of momentum. Now, again, these are not areas with large concentrations of voters, but they are showing up and winning wards. They have picked up 2 wards in the last 2 weeks. They'll have a lot of momentum. Just a comment on the DA. Last night, getting 16% in an area where they've struggled in the past, like Dunoon. We've seen them do well in the numerous Johannesburg by-elections. The DA have concerns, of course, about the PA and the Freedom Front, but generally are doing very well in metropolitan areas. And we're going to that's a trend which we've seen develop. So those are the major trends we've seen play out in the first 3 months, and this year is flying past us, Chris.
Thank you. That was elections analyst Wayne Sussman on the Electoral Roadshow with me, Chris Steyn. Thank you, Wayne.
Thank you.